Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Cristiano. You might have seen me on stage yesterday. Thank you for coming. I'm going to be talking about hackathons. I do a lot of hackathons, and that's kind of what this story is going to be about. It's a bit of a story, and I hope to excite you a little bit. Just to kind of have a feeling, how many of you have been to a hackathon? Who here has no idea what a hackathon is? Awesome, cool, okay. That's good. That's a good basis, basis for it. So this is about hackathons. Now you might have seen the whole Rails bit in here. Yes, I am a Ruby guy, and this is also a little bit of a Ruby love story for me. Why that matters, I'll get to that in a bit. So hackathons on Rails. I am a master builder at Braintree. What that means is I build a lot of stuff, and they let me do that. And I get paid for that, and that is awesome. What I build, I'll get to as well in a bit. And yes, that is a Lego reference as well. Now, like I said, Braintree, we do payments, we power payments for all of these kind of people. That's not that important for this talk. What is important is that I live in London. Anybody here ever been to London? Is it a nice city? Right? I fly a lot. That's me over there. I fly a lot. Now, I had a joke yesterday about how that sounds luxurious, but it's not. So here's the new joke. It sounds luxurious, but it's not, because it makes me an expert in microwave meals. Have you ever been on a plane where you kind of get something, you're like, is that chicken or is that beef? And you go, oh no, it's potato. Yeah. As you can tell, I also do bad jokes. I'm very good at those. If anybody has any bad jokes, please tell them. Don't tell me good jokes. They ruin my style. Here's one of them. An American Express walks into a bar in Moscow. The bartender says, sorry mate, you aren't allowed in here without a visa. Thank you. Okay, so back to what this is about. So this is my history. This is my history with hackathons. I love hackathons. But I also like, sorry, I went off track. But I also like Rails. I'm a big Ruby guy. I've been doing Ruby Rails for about 10 years now. No, about 8 years, I think. But Rails started off in 2004. Now, the important thing is the entire Rails source code is now on GitHub, which means that we can go all the way back to the first commit, and we can see that even DHH, who's the main kind of contributor, maintainer of Rails, even he writes shit first commits. Initial, that's the commit message. Initial. We've all done that, right? Initial commit. It's because you have nothing else to write. You're like, what am I going to say? They're added stuff. So even he's bad at it. At this time, I thought Rails was interesting, but I was still doing Symfony. Anybody here do Symfony? One person. Yeah, I wasn't all my friends were like, you're doing PHP? Are you crazy? And I'm like, it's a beautiful language. It has lots of arrows and stuff in it. That's very lovely. 2007, like I said, I moved to London. And I started doing hackathons. And the first one I went to was one done in this building. And there's a fun story with that. This is an old radio kind of center from the BBC. And it was actually the BBC together with Yahoo who organized this hackathon. It was called, I think it was called Hack London, probably. Yeah. This is an old broadcasting station. Now, what you can't see is over here, there is a big antenna. And because this is a listed building, it's a kind of a monument, they have very strict security on making sure it doesn't burn down. So it has all these very clever systems that will notice that it's on fire, and then it will open up the roof so that the firemen can kind of throw some water through the roof into the building. That's interesting. Now, that day it started raining and we had lightning twice. Struck the tower, which made the computer system think the building was on fire, but it wasn't. So it started raining indoors. I was a student still then. I don't know how you were a student or how many of you still are a student, but like at that time my laptop was like my most expensive thing I had, so it was like grab your laptop and run like so yeah, umbrellas indoors, finally useful. But these hackathons were amazing, and what I love about these kind of hackathons, especially the ones in the UK, is there are some crazy people there, like absolute, you know, who would not fit into society in many other places. This guy actually works for, I think he works for Forbes now. He's actually a journalist, but he's a crazy dude, and he, together with some other guys, made a flight simulator. This is 2007, right? So Google Maps is just out, right? It's kind of quite a new thing. So what they did is they flew around, they made an actual plane. It was an entire plane out of plywood, right? There's like a arcade joystick controller and a display here. And they flew around the world in 24 hours on the maps. Now what they mean is they move the cursor around the world on Google Maps in 24 hours. Now they had very important rules, like if you had to change pilot, you had to move the cursor to an airport. So you had to go and find an airport, and then you get out, and then the other person gets in, and then you can fly again. Because it's an airplane, it's a flight simulator. So yeah, not the best hack, but it was very funny. At that time, I met this guy as well. Simon Willis, a co-founder of Lanyard, but also co-founder of Django. I kind of, you know, started looking at Django. Any Python people here? No? Oh. So Django is like a big Python framework. And I looked at this and I was like, ooh, that's really cool. Like you can do stuff like this. And then I looked at Ruby and I was like, wait, this makes way more sense. That's like the same thing, but just like in the right order. So I kind of got, you know, and you even can start removing the braces, which is amazing. Or like do blocks. Any Ruby people here? Ah, see, you love it. Okay. So I was like, that's really cool. But you know, that was still before, that was 2007. That's when they just announced Rails 2. Now, can I remind the Ruby people here in the room that is before we had bundler and gem files. For those of you not Rubyists, that's before we had any kind of dependency management. So you had to just download stuff and just like manually, like if you wanted to download a project, you had to go like, oh, which dependencies do I need? I need to download all of them. Oh, I have the wrong ones. Oh, like, yeah. I love Ruby, but Rails at that time was pretty shit. It was also Ruby 1.8, which wasn't very good either, you know, bundler. You know, but, you know, DHA's the Rails founder. He's been very busy doing very important stuff like racing his car. You know, important stuff. So 2008, you know, I was still doing hackathons. 2008, for those of you, that's when the iOS SDK came out. So I had a look at that. It's a beautiful language. Right, okay, let's continue. You know, still didn't have bundler. You know, forget about testing. That was even harder to do at the time. But like I said, this is a hackathon on Rails, and it is a Ruby love story. And this is basically more of a story about how I failed to kind of let go of kind of the love of my life, which is, you know, Ruby. I keep coming back to it, even though every time I try to do other stuff, it just solves a lot of problems for me. So 2009, I started doing this thing called Charity Hack. This was organized by PayPal at the time in London. It was kind of to do funny stuff for charities. And again, we had absolute idiots show up to this as well. So this is a friend of mine. This is actually me over here. This is the year that I won together with my team. And there's a girl on the table on the other side, which is hidden behind this guy, who is very important, the girl. She will come back later on. But this guy is the same as that guy. He made this thing called Charity Shock. It's a great app. There's a website. You go onto it, and he, you know those pens where you press the clicker, you get shocked, right? You know this? I took it apart, connected it to an Arduino, connected it to a Raspberry Pi, connected that to the internet, connected that to PayPal, so you could pay to shock him. And I think he had 2 minutes to present, and he gave everybody free credit. And he got shocked about every 5 seconds. He was like, yes, I'm presenting Charity Shock. It's amazing. It's like, it was very cool. We also had these guys. This is the first year winner, Charity Frag. They did what did they do? It was, they took like an open source video game, a bit like Counter-Strike, right? And they hooked into it, and they hooked into like a website with a portal where you could sign up and say, hey, I'm supporting the Red Cross, and you're supporting like cancer support, right? And what we would do is we would put money in, and then every time I shoot you, some of your money goes to me, to my charity. So it's killing each other for charity. It totally sells, like it sells itself. It's amazing. But yeah, the year that we did it, we won in 2009, I think, 9 or 10. We realized that we were pretty good at what we were doing, so we started a company. And of course, because we did so many hackathons, and hackathons, the one thing you can find at every hackathon is more pizza. So our company was called Pizza Powered, because we were mainly powered by pizza at that time. Out of that, we started a company eventually, Ember Ads, to do advertisements. Don't worry, it didn't work. I'm not sending you any advertisement right now. This is at a time that Node.js came out, so I looked at that and I was like, this is starting to sound pretty cool stuff, right? So it's like, okay, holy crap, what the hell is going on here? Okay, so and I went back to Ruby. Yeah, you see where I'm going here. Like it keeps happening over and over again. Since then, I've been to. I did the math last year. I think last year was at about 60 hackathons. I think I've added like another 20 this year, so I've been to about 80 hackathons or something total. I organized one in London eventually for 500 people inside of the O2. This is that's the O2. It's also called the Millennium Dome. It's huge. So this is only like the inner circle. There's like another circle down here, and then there's like upstairs. Here's a big, huge kind of like auditorium like this, where people could sit and watch the presentations. It was insane. It was huge, and we did that because we just wanted to have fun with people. Now, at some point, my startup, like I said, the advertisement thing didn't really work, so I ran out of money. So then I started working for Braintree PayPal. And what we started doing is pretty funny. We started doing our own hackathon, and this one was called Battle Hack. Anybody here ever been to Battle Hack? We did one in Barcelona 2 years ago. So the first year we did 10 of them. Now, hackathons are fun, but we realized what we were going to do is we were going to pick a winner from each one, and we were going to bring them to our San Jose office in California, and then they would do a finals, and the winner there could win $100,000. So that was interesting, but the problem that we had is like all these winners, like the number 2 prize is like an Xbox, but what is the number 1 prize? Like the prize is going to the US, but you still want to have something to remember that you won, right? So what we did is we had trophies. But we don't want a boring trophy that, these trophies you buy that they just like put your name on it. No, we got axes. Because it's Battle Hack, so battle axes. It makes total sense. These ones were about this big. They were made in China, as far as I know. They were sharp as hell when they arrived. Like, we had to get them blunted. They were still very sharp at the points. The first year, the winners were Moscow. So I called that a 1-0 for Europe, because it was basically Europe versus US at the time. Last year we upped it. We did 14 cities. So we went to Asia as well, and we did Mexico City. Every year I'm like, London's gonna win, but they definitely got some axes, and of course, we needed a new axe, so we had a new axe. We went full Viking theme in that one. That axe is not sharp, made in Spain, and from the ground up, about that tall. It's a hefty one. It's a very hefty one. Now this year, we went to 14 different cities, and of course we had a new axe. Now the thing what we did is like I said yesterday, we went full on Tron theme this year. So the axe glows in the dark. Like, that's the axe. Everything this year glowed in the dark. It was amazing. Like, we had EL wire kind of running everywhere, in glasses, in hats, in underwear. No, not underwear. Okay, so the thing that I get from all these hackathons is that people ask me is like, okay, so which hackers are the best? Which hackers are the best? Is this, oh, by the way, so the second year Tel Aviv won, and this year Venice won. So 3-0 to Europe. Like, that's how I'm counting it. Like, versus my US colleagues, no US team has won the finals yet. But which hackers are the best, right? Which ones, like, do you notice a difference when you go to like Venice, or if you go to like London, do you notice a difference? But I can tell you, the one thing that all of them have in common is that if you give them something stupid to put in their head, they will put it on their head. This is in Berlin, I think. This is in Australia. This is actually the Poland country manager for PayPal. Some more. This is one of our Canadian colleagues. This is my boss. He's Canadian, clearly Canadian, John Moose. And this is actually one of the guys who works on our one of the leads on our PayPal APIs, and he's the only one who actually looks scary holding the axe. Every year I take a picture and I'm like, dude, like, put it down. And I've no idea who that is. I don't know. Anyway, going back to Rails. So 2013 sucked for us because we were a very small team. We were like, there was like 8 or 9 of us. And we've since grown to like 30 that run these events. So we did a lot of this stuff kind of the way you would run an event, which is you use Eventbrite, and then you use MailChimp, and then maybe you use some, I'm a web dev, so I use GitHub Pages to kind of host the website on, because who needs a dynamic site? But I can tell you that sucked, because every time, like, who here has clients that they work with? People you work for. Who works for somebody? Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Like, you tell them you can't, you tell them what do you want, and they go this, and then they change it, and then they change it again and again. So we had this problem, like, the date for a battle hack would change. Like, we would have to move the weekend. You'd have to go into Eventbrite, and then go into MailChimp, and then go to GitHub Pages. And it's like, oh, no, we're not changing it. Go into Eventbrite, go into GitHub Pages. Like, it was a pain in the ass. So what I did is, that's what I do, is I built my entire own ticketing system in CMS, because why not? So BattleHack, this is the website from this year. It's a full-on CMS. We can manage like the content. We can manage like the when each city is, whether tickets are open or not. We have full-on ticketing system in there with all the questions that we really need, including like triple opt-in to make people sure that, yes, they need to be over 18. Yes, they need to be, because people do not read the terms and conditions. So when you click this, there's another two checkboxes that then appear that you also have to click, because people told us well, you didn't tell us that I had to be over 18, and we were like, yes, we did. You click 3 checkboxes. So the cool thing is, we do everything through that. We can do emails, we can do check-in through that, all through one big app. Now the cool thing is, what we can do with that is we can also get a lot of statistics out of that. This year we've all the hackathon submissions, all the hack submissions, they come through this platform as well. So every team kind of logs in, says, hey, I'm working with this guy and that guy. This is the hack that we're working on. We're using this API and that API and that API. So we can really tell what people are using. Now, of course, I want to say, this thing does a lot of different things. So it's all microservices. No, it's just one big, enormous app. It needs to really be split out into microservices at some point. But certain things don't really need to be split, because this is not going to be a startup that's going to run for another 20 years. It's just something we use internally. One thing that is pretty cool that we did do is, so this is one of the tools I built. I built a whole few more of them. And one of the problems that you have, if you've ever built a website where you want to do a social kind of login, like Twitter or Facebook or something like that, the problem that you quite often have is if you want to invite people, so it's only invite-only access, you need to build an entire invite system to invite them. Or you have them log in first, right, with their Twitter, and then you go in and say, oh yeah, these guys are allowed. And that was a real pain in the ass. So what we did instead is we use login with Slack. Now, so we use login with Slack, and the cool thing that we do is, we all know Slack, right? Yeah? Who doesn't know what Slack is? Okay, so it's a chat system. So you have channels, and you have rooms, channels, whatever you want to call them. You can chat with your colleagues. It works on mobile, etc. The cool thing is they have private channels, so channels that you only have access to if you've been invited to it. So you see what I'm doing here? That's an invite system. So any channel that starts with off, we use that for kind of checking whether or not you have access to a specific one of our products. So the BattleHack website, you just go log in with Slack. When you log in with Slack, it checks whether or not you are in off BattleHack, and if you are, then you are. Now the cool thing is, now if one of my colleagues leaves the company, all I have to do is just remove him from Slack, and I've removed him from everything. He doesn't have access to anything anymore. If I just want to remove him from the BattleHack side, I just kick him out of the channel. Anybody can do it. Anybody in the company can do that. I don't need to build an entire invite system, which would have been insane to build. Instead, we just use Slack. Other stuff that I built, code of conduct. There's a lot of code of conducts out there for conferences, but there's not one for hackathons, or at least there wasn't one. Now there is. It kind of goes into things like, making sure that people understand that, yes, your hack content is subject to the code of conduct as well, of course, right? You can't be a sexist, but neither can your hack be, right? That's a line that some people have issues with, apparently. It's a Rails app. Who would have guessed? We have a kind of a Twitter wall / clock. It allows us to show the time, count down 24 hours, have all the tweets come by that we do. I also support a couple of our startup efforts. So we have a StarTank website, which is where we give office space away in our London office to startups every 6 months. So we kind of cycle them out. So we kind of handle all the applications through this website. We show which startups are currently in our cycle, and I'm involved in the Blueprint product, which is something we do for. It's where we give, I have to say this right, up to $100,000 in Braintree and $50,000 in PayPal transactions. Well, it's actually like $1.5 million in transactions. We give away $50,000 to startups and private support, so that like the first $50,000 in fees you don't have to pay if you are on the Blueprint program. But of course, there's an entire invite system. It's an invite-only thing. You need to sign up with your startup. So that's something we do as well. One thing I built, anybody here played with like containers, like Docker, etc., right? Cool. So one thing I built is Dokufy. So there's a pretty cool thing called Doku, which is like, it's a very simple way of kind of building a kind of your own kind of Heroku on your own server. The instructions on how to set it up on a server are insane. So I built Dokufy, which is the gem, and you just say, Dokufy this server, Dokufy this app, and you're ready to just push it. So yeah, I started as a developer advocate, and then I kind of changed title to kind of like tooling and engineering lead, but that doesn't really fit nicely on a business card. So I was suggesting just fuck it, ship it, wizard. But like they said, I can't swear on my business cards either. So I'm sticking with Master Builder, which, yes, if you have seen the Lego movie, that is a Lego reference. That's me. That's my, no. Clearly. It's the hair, see? Basically, I like to build a lot of stuff, so it made sense. I can highly recommend it if you love job security. Because there's a lot of stuff now that I work on, and people have no idea how it works. Like, I need to stay at the company. No, I'm kidding. It's documented. So I still haven't answered the question, which hackers are the best? Are Madrid hackers the best? Is that what we're saying? Or who is here actually from Madrid? Oh, okay. Where's the rest of you from? Who's not from Spain? Oh, okay. Okay. So, 2015, like I said, we have a lot of statistics, so I can tell you like what are the most popular kind of languages out there, and that's where stuff gets interesting. So, popularity. Top 5. Number 5, Python. But no Python people here, so we can skip that. AngularJS, and it's a bit of a weird one because it's kind of like we let people fill in stuff on their own, so there's a bit of an overlap between stuff. Android is pretty popular. Of course, JavaScript is on number 2 and on number 1. So there's like 3 times JavaScript in there. So I think JavaScript is doing pretty well this year. I can tell that even at the hackathons. But the thing is, what we do is we secretly, and we don't tell people this, we also rate every hack that comes through. So we give them like a thumbs up or a thumbs down or like, in between. Just so we have a bit of an idea what we thought, the quality was. So if we kind of like count the rating for each of these tags, we can not sort them by popularity, we can sort them by rating. Now, rating is interesting. Most popular ones, Node.js, obviously, C, Java. That's supposed to say MongoDB, not MogoDB. Those were all so these are all negatives, right? So these all had very negative ratings, and the most popular rating, the only one that really stuck out, is Azure. I don't know how that happened because I think we only had like 3 hacks maybe that had Azure. That was amazing. Now the question is like, that's all fun and games, but which one won? So, LA. The winners in LA, they made a thing called drop lock, which is, when you can kind of activate it and you put your laptop to sleep, and if somebody picks up your laptop and runs off with it, the moment they pick it up, it takes a picture and puts it in your Dropbox. So that's pretty cool, right? What was it building? Cake PHP. Lots of little arrows. Like Singapore. Singapore, they I forget what they built. Their technology stack: Android, Arduino, Node, Mongo. Okay, starting to look familiar. Rally, they went, Objective-C, Python, Node.js, HTML, etc., etc., etc. London did a bit much. Like they went all out. They did like everything. Like they built everything into one. Yeah, we were like, did you do this in 24 hours? Like, Athens, Ruby. There's Ruby in there. We found some Ruby finally. Somebody's doing Ruby. Okay. Now, I told you this was going to be a love story, and there's two sides to that. One of them is that, yes, I love Ruby, and I like doing a lot of it. The second thing is, remember that girl who was at the hackathon with me? I proposed to her, and of course, the engagement ring had a Ruby in it. So that, and she said yes, by the way, so we're good. So yeah, I love Ruby, and that's the end of my talk. It's a bit shorter than I hoped. I'd love to know what you do at hackathons. I'd love to know which technology can you not let go of? Like, what is your thing that you keep coming back to? Thank you very much, and I'm open to take any questions. In the back there.
Yes, I would like to know when you first started organizing hackathons, did you fix a specific goal, and then if you did,
Yeah.
suppose you did, then how did you measure that? I mean, what did you want it to
Okay.
and did you achieve it?
So the basic question is, like, when I started organizing hackathons, you know, did we set goals and did we measure them, and you know, what was the result of that? So I kind of have a background in two kinds of hackathons. To me, there's another website called the Hack Day Manifesto, which I wrote many years ago together with some friends of mine. Well, actually, they did most of the writing. I just take the claim. Which is a really good document if you want to organize your own hackathon. Go and look at the Hack Day Manifesto, because it outlines what people expect from a hackathon. Now the thing is, like, there's two kinds of hackathon to me. There is the one where there is big prizes to be won, and there's the ones where there is collaboration. Those are the two ends of the spectrum, right? Because you have to think, like, Battle Hack, like we do big prizes. Big prizes, people want to come in, they want to win. They want to come in and win. That's really cool, you know, and that's what we want people to do. We want people to come in for Battle Hack, and we want them to play with Braintree and PayPal and our partners. Like, we bring in Twilio and Pusher and SendGrid, etc. We want them to play with our technology, but they come in with a plan, right? So they come in like ready to win. Now what that means is that if you are one developer and you show up to Battle Hack and you don't come with friends, it is really hard to find people who will come and teach you something, right? It's really hard to kind of start collaborating with people. So what Hacked was about, this is the like 500 person hackathon I did in the O2 in London, is what we did with Hacked is our goals were very different. Our slogan was learn, build, share. We wanted people to come in, go and learn something, or build something, or share something. So you didn't have to hack. You could spend the entire weekend teaching other people. Yeah, or you could just come in and learn something. The thing we wanted to do is that if you come in, whether or not you are 8 or 80, right? You could come in, and we didn't care if you were this experienced or that experienced. We wanted you to like do this, like slightly, you know, learn something, do something, like that difference. And by the way, like, people are always amazed about like 15-year-old kids and how good they are programmers, and they're only 15. I know kids who've been programming since they are like 8. Right? That 15-year-old kid has like 7 years of development experience. Like, that's insane. Like, you know, I'm more impressed by like a 40-year-old who's been hacking for like 2 weeks than, you know, a 15-year-old who's been hacking for 7 years. So that was our goal. That was our goal, to do, you know, to make an event that people shared. The other reason why we did Hacked is, at the time, there were a lot of hackathons, and they were all pretty bad. And we thought we could do better. But the other thing is there were slowly less and less hackathons. And we noticed there wasn't like a new generation to hand it off to. So we ran this event and we got about 30 or 40 students who came along who had never been to hackathon before. And they are now all running their own hackathons. Hackathons in the UK have never been this common, like this big. So yeah, that worked. So we found a new generation to kind of inspire to do their own hackathons. So they run like student hackathons pretty much every weekend for like 3 months, twice a year, as part of like it's now called MLH, which is the Major League Hacking. It's kind of a thing in the US together with a thing in the UK and Europe, where they just go from university to university to university. And it's even in Nottingham, you can actually get credit, like how do you call that in English? Yeah, it's credit, right? Yeah, so you can get credit for education by doing a hackathon. And that's pretty fucking cool. So, yeah, I hope that answered the question. Any other questions? You have another question. I see you.
Yeah, well, it's actually from your experience in 80 hackathons. I've been to quite a few, not that much.
I wouldn't recommend it. It's
How do you manage to, I know, does it affect the fact that you put prizes and a lot more people come? Is it all about the money? Or how do you manage? I know it's related to the question you just answered. I maybe just want to know more about it.
I mean, the question is kind of like, do the prizes matter? Do they influence it? They definitely influence, the way people share with each other. But at the same time, I don't think everybody comes to Battle Hack to win. There are a lot of people, here's the thing. We are a payment company. And when you say a payment company is going to run a hackathon, we're going to have a fintech hackathon. 5 years ago, I would have gone, well, that sounds like the most boring thing ever, right? So payments aren't inherently super exciting for most people, right? So we have a lot of fun. We have axes, yeah? Not a trophy, we have axes. We have wigs and stuff lying around. We do so much food at Battle Hack that I think nobody has ever left Battle Hack at least like 2 or 3 kilos heavier. Like, we like to do nice food, not pizza, because pizza is a bit rubbish. Not just pizza and beer, we try to get nice food, nice stuff. So a lot of people come to Battle Hack by now just for the experience, because it's a lot of fun. We did, the Venice one was at H Farm, which is like a big accelerator in I think Treviso. We did it there. It was in July. It was sunny. People were like hacking outside, sitting in beanbags in the sunshine, just under a little shade, so that they could just work there. It was amazing. Like, it's these kind of experiences that you don't really get anywhere else. So yeah, like the prizes make a difference, but that's not everybody comes for that, because we like to just have fun. Yeah. But there are these hackathons out there which are very, focused on the prizes, and they're not as much fun to attend. I can tell you that, unless you go in and win. Like then they're fun. Anybody else? Okay, thank you.